done things that have been more. Well, Scott, thank you very much. I am beyond excited for this edition of the Living Undeterred podcast. Great to see you. COVID
You
handshake.
too, it's an honor.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. When I decided to put together this Living Undeterred mindset, initially we spent time talking about people battling substance abuse, addiction, maybe
Right.
people that went through traumatic events. In our case, losing someone close to us. And I thought, if I do a podcast after a while, that's going to get, you can't talk about one topic constantly. So then I said, well, let's get into some things that maybe can help people if they're struggling with certain things in their life. Maybe they can say, hey, I want to get into this, or I want to get into this. So I have a scuba diving show coming up down the road. And your show is just, it's an odd show, but don't take that offense to that, because I've been thinking about this show.
I'm an odd person. So.
By the way, Scott's my brother, full disclosure. So obviously I've known him my whole life. My older brother, one of two, and then I have my younger brother, Dan. But today we're going to talk about, and I don't know what to call this show, we're going to talk about the afterlife. We're going to talk about spirits. We're going to talk about ghosts, which I know you and I don't really like that word.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. Mm-hmm. But I guess before we get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't you tell us, out of all the careers you could have picked, lawyer, doctor, teacher, you picked a ghost hunter. And I actually like to tell people that my brother's a ghost hunter. You should see their eyes perk up. And then I show your website and they're like, oh my God, he's really a ghost hunter. So
right.
Why don't you just tell the watchers and listeners what got you into the paranormal, what's the name of your company, and then we'll just figure out where we go from there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if I could, I want to say that another term I'm not a big fan of is ghost hunter.
Yeah.
I know it's the popular term to use. The term ghost in general, I think, kind of demeans the possibility of us communicating and talking to people who pass from their physical body. But and also, what I do, I know it seems like a career, but it's not. It's a passionate hobby on steroids.
Yeah.
It's not a job, not a career. The amount of work that I put into it and everything that I do for it is just like a job, just like anybody else would do. But to your question, the reason I morphed into this, I think, it was a matter of when. It wasn't a matter of if.
You've always, in our basement as kids, running around hunting for... We would never go in the room, and Scott would always go in the room.
Yep. And when I was about 9 years old, I remember going about that far back in third grade, I had a passion for not just the paranormal, which back in that day it was called parapsychology. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any of this paranormal investigating stuff was unknown. Nobody knew about it. It was a brand new field. It was really parapsychology was just ESP, extrasensory perception experiments, mentalism with Kreskin,
telekinesis,
stuff like that. Yeah. And all that stuff was brand new. But I was always fascinated in not just that angle, but anything that we call now kind of spiritual.
Right.
I was into tarot cards as a kid. I got one of my best ever Christmas presents was a Kreskin magic kit. He was a famous mentalist.
Oh, yeah.
I'm dating myself here.
No, I think most people, Kreskin's been on the forefront of all this.
He was the big one. Now, younger people today probably don't know who the heck he was or what he did. Go check it out. Amazing stuff. He never claimed to be able to read minds, but he did some amazing stuff. So anyway, I got this magic kit of his. And one of the most compelling moments for me, one thing that really drove me to get fascinated with this, the powers of the mind, was part of this magic kit was a little pendulum. Just a little plastic. It looked like it was a fake ivory pendulum on a chain, and it came with a little target about like this, the size of this piece of paper here, with concentric circles in it. And the idea was you would take this pendulum and you just hold it down like this, perfectly still, hopefully, if you're being honest, and you would try everything you could to make that pendulum move just using your mind.
Right.
And I was fascinated by the possibility of doing this. And this is a true story. I worked with that pendulum night after night for a while. And one night it did start to move when I was just in my mind, just not saying it, wanting it to go in a circle. And I was taking my hand and I was going out, because I'm not trying to impress anybody, it's just me. I was holding as tight as I could, just saying, you're not going to subconsciously move that thing. I got to the point, Jeff, I could make that thing, I kid you not, it was start in slow circles, and it would start going like this, and then I would, in my mind, I'd make it stop and then go backwards, and then I can make it do crosses.
So that got you interested, but that's not paranormal. So is that more your interest in the parapsychology part of this?
Paranormal, though, remember, is not just the spirit end of things. It's not just the apparitions and ghosts.
Okay.
Paranormal is a broad term that covers things like this. It covers aliens. It covers Bigfoot.
So do you think something like a ghost was controlling that, or do you think more of it was just your subconscious? You really focus, like remote viewing they had back in the Cold War when they had people. The CIA has actually come out now after the fact, and they've said, "Hey, we've actually experimented with putting people in rooms and trying to read where the Soviets were setting up their missiles and stuff. With remote viewing. Is that kind of the same thing?
Oh, it's in a way it's related. It's mainly related in the sense that we're talking about the powers of the mind, the incredible powers of the human mind that are so untapped. And so, once that just fascinated me. Here was something. My point is something that I used to be extremely skeptical, which sounds funny of a 9-year-old to say that, but I was open to it.
Right.
And here I was doing this. And so then, but then real quickly, because you mentioned what got me started. It started at age 9. The next big thing, and I've not shared this with anybody in the family, I don't think. Have I shared it on my live stream that I do? This was incredible. I will never forget this moment as long as I live. I was fascinated by these mental experiments, just the idea. So one thing, an experiment I came up with on my own, was I took a deck of cards, and I said, I'm going to take a card out of this deck. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to put it in an envelope. I'm going to seal that envelope with sealing wax. Why? Because I'm the only one that's going to open it, but sealing wax. I'm going to put it under my pillow. And I'm just going to do a relaxation technique that Kreskin talked about and just see. Remember, there's no sender in some of those experiments we're talking about. You got a sender and a receiver in the early ESP experiments.
Right.
There was no sender.
So no signals were really given.
Correct. Pulled a card out, didn't look, sealed it under the pillow. And I remember distinctly, and yes, it's a hell of a long time ago, but I remember this vividly. I had a dream, and I woke up. I was all excited, thinking, okay, did I have a dream? And all of a sudden it hit me. Okay, I did. And it started coming to me, and I was getting disappointed because it wasn't making any sense. My dream was this, really concise. There was a younger male standing outside. He was holding something, and I thought, this isn't happening. But then I realized that in my dream, he was dressed pretty well. Like really nice clothes, like almost like, kingly. But he was younger. And I'm like, oh my God, it's giving me goosebumps right now talking about it. I thought, could it be a jack?
Oh, come on.
But it gets better. And then he's holding something, and he's outside. And I'm going, but it's a shovel. It's like a hoe. And then I went, oh my God. And I was trying to control my excitement, and I thought, there's no way. Now you have a 1 in 52 chance statistically,
but still,
right?
That's amazing.
I opened that envelope. It was the Jack of Spades. I will never forget it. I ran downstairs. I'm sure Mom would remember this. She's down in the kitchen. I was just hyperventilating. I was so excited. And I'm down there, tugging on her shirt. Mom, you're not gonna believe what happened. She was making something, and she was just kind of not. She was hearing me, but not really getting into it. And I was trying to emphasize. That was incredible. That was the next thing that got me going. There is something to this. So then fast forward.
Most of us kids were out playing cowboys and Indians, and you were out putting cards in envelopes and trying to guess them. So
being an utter nerd. But yeah. So anyway, not to take too much time on that. But now fast forward many years later and a lot less hair later, to coming to a point, kind of segueing into what you're all about now with your Living Undeterred and all the stuff you've been through and talking about people hitting rock bottom and going through things.
Right.
And I think sometimes you get to a place, maybe it's a function of getting to a certain age. You get in your 50s and they have that term I hate that's called midlife crisis.
Midlife challenge. I call it midlife challenge.
There's no crisis about it. I think you start to analyze what do you want to do with your life.
Right.
And not even talking about financially.
Right.
Just what do you want to do?
Right.
And we talked about a little bit about this off camera, about how it's important at that time to think. Now go back to what I was just talking about as a kid. Go back to the things. What were you passionate about as a kid, as a child?
Right.
Where you didn't care. You weren't thinking career.
Right.
You weren't thinking money. what did you love to do?
And for you, it was always looking for
that was
ghosts.
one of them.
It was.
Another one was
Yep.
astronomy. I used to
Yeah.
love taking my telescope and looking up at the heavens, and who knows, maybe I can do that again sometime. But I thought, heck with it. I'm going to do what I wanted, what I'm passionate about.
Right.
And so that's why then when the TV show started coming out in 2008,
Right.
Ghost Adventures, etc., here I was at 52 at the time. I thought, that would be something I'd love to do. And so I got my first digital voice recorder and started goofing around to see if I could get communications, and went from there.
What do you think makes us want to communicate with loved ones that have died? Is it that we just haven't figured out a way to let go or to say goodbye, and we just have this need to feel like we can't accept closure? We just can't accept the fact that when life's end, maybe that's it. Because, this search for the afterlife, you go back to the Egyptians, you go back to wall paintings in caves. I mean, it's something you didn't invent. I mean, it's been around, and it will be around, because I don't know if we'll ever, until we catch a ghost in a bottle, or until Sasquatch gets caught, there's always going to be that thing out there. You and I have talked way when we were little kids. Yeah. You always used to say, we talked about UFOs a lot, because I have a big interest in this area. And that's what really got me excited about this show today, to kind of deviate from all the stuff I normally talk about. But you've always said this, and it resonated with me. You said, well, Jeff, I'll give you that's fake, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. If there's 100 photos of ghosts and 99 are fake, or if there's 100 photos of UFOs and 99 are fake, but one is real, then they exist. And I think that's what keeps us going.
I agree.
I could say I'm a skeptic, I don't believe. However, there's that one photo, and what's really exciting is you brought some photos in today. And we're going to go through some photos that are considered the best photos in the history of ghost hunting, or just accidental photos that people take. A lot of them, people aren't trying to take a picture of a ghost; they're taking a picture of a graveyard, and then there's somebody in the background. So I'm interested.
One of those with me.
Yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts on that. I want to talk about things such as Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, things that I have my opinion on that. I think some of these things at some point get to be rather comical. Yeah. Specifically like the Loch Ness Monster. I just have a hard time. I have more belief like in Sasquatch, and I do that. And why would someone in their 50s, at this stage of our life, be interested in this stuff? And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's because we're at that stage where we're trying to find answers to questions. When you're 9, it's more curiosity, because you don't know a whole lot. When you get older, you know a lot, and a lot of times that can blind you to learning. And so I've respected what you do, Scott, because you don't go into a house, and we're going to talk about this too. Maybe you want to do this now. The proliferation of ghost shows out there is nauseating. Yeah. I mean, there's just ghost show, and it's the same thing they package. And I will tell you, some of the evidence is pretty good. Some of it is just ridiculous. But the ability for these people to take advantage of vulnerable people.
Oh, definitely.
So, Scott, let's say I lose my grandmother, and I move into her house, and I hear a creak at 3 a.m, and I really miss Grandma really bad. Now I'm going to really want to believe that it's my grandma communicating. And a lot of people watching this are having this happen.
Absolutely.
And so I call Scott Johnston up, and if you're a scammer, you're going to come out and say, well, yeah, that's what you're hearing for sure, every creak. Here, give me $100 and I'll investigate for you. Yeah. You don't do that. No. I want to know why you don't charge anything for your investigations, and what's your thoughts on those that, and I know you're treading on being disparaging to your competitors, but the reality is, what do you think about people that charge a fee to go on ghosts and those that don't? I think to me there's an easy situation there where people can be taken advantage of.
Well, that's the whole premise behind not doing it, and it's a real hot button topic in the paranormal field. And in fact, arguably, it's the biggest hot button topic that there is. It even trumps validity of evidence, and can we prove it? Trumps all that stuff. Because let's face it, I mean,
the conflict of interest.
Well,
don't you think?
Yeah, I think in a sense, yeah. But my biggest gripe, and we talked off camera about maybe making a whole separate thing about this topic, so I'm not going to go into it a lot. But there's so much hypocrisy in it, and like with most things, money is king. Money's paramount. I mean, this is all money driven. But anyway, to your question, the reason I don't, I think, is twofold. In no particular order. You're considered completely illegitimate in this field if you do charge a fee for. Now I'm talking the residential like I do, teams like mine, who have homes and businesses contact us with supposed issues. The phrase is in our field: if you find a paranormal team that's charging to investigate your house, run screaming from them, because they're not legitimate.
Yeah,
and so that's one reason I don't.
Right.
Now I'm starting to care less and less about what people in the field think. I really don't care. I'm still not charging a fee because it makes the homeowner more at ease.
Right.
Okay, that things are going to be done legitimately. The only other reason I don't charge a fee, I would say right now, is just because I haven't really had to. To say it's a labor of love is the biggest understatement I could ever come up with.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The hours I spend doing this are just ridiculous.
Right.
I have thought about beginning to charge a fee, just a flat rate.
Yeah. You have expenses? I mean,
every investigation I spend probably $60 to $80 out of pocket on batteries alone. Mm-hmm. Then there's gas, sometimes to and from interview, to and from the investigation, to and from the evidence.
Is it possible you just come up with a fixed cost type
That's
of
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Just a flat rate. But anyway, I haven't yet for a couple of reasons. But it's a hot button topic. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that I don't, and I do accept donations. Sometimes a client will donate.
And we're going to put your website. It's CR Paranormal, right?
It's crparanormal.com. Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
And you do a live stream Monday nights, and I've been on 2 of them, and again, at my age at 54, some of the events I've gone through with my personal life, and you're part of it. Your family. I just decided I wanted to be a learner. I wanted to be a sponge. I wanted to just keep learning. And so any preconceived barrier I built up on a topic, I'm like, you know what? I'm too old to be ignorant. Yeah. And so I sat into your show, and I've always, like I said, I've always been interested in ghosts and Bigfoot and all those things, but I'm on the skeptic side.
Right.
It's like I have to have like lunch with Bigfoot before I'm going to say, okay, Bigfoot exists. Literally. Yeah. If I see one, I probably won't even believe
It's a great name for a documentary. By the way.
Lunch with Bigfoot. Oh, it'd be great. Matter of fact, I'll be right there. No, so for me, and this is my ADD again kicking in, but I kind of forgot what I was talking about. But
I do that all the time.
No, so I've always been interested in this, and I thought what I would try to do is take the perspective that you're not a skeptic like I am. However, you're also into debunking things. So when you come into a house and someone reaches out to you, you're not going in there. Every little noise is a ghost. It's a heater, or it's because your house is 100 years old. I mean, it's creaking. When you get a request, and people watching this, if they're interested in having you come out and investigate, as you say, what's the most popular request that you get when someone reaches out to you? What's the number one thing people reach out to you?
You find out what that is in the initial homeowner interview. And almost without exception, let me think real quick if there's any exceptions to this. The last question I ask in the interview answers that question. I ask him, it's about 40 question interview. And I say, what would you like to see accomplished from an investigation of your home? Okay. The answer to that question determines when and if this case ever gets closed. Until that question is answered, or that what they want is
what answers
fulfilled.
do you get?
The number one to your question is, I just want to know I'm not crazy. If you can document for me, if you can find evidence of paranormal activity, that would be great. If you can't, that's fine too.
So some of the validation isn't, I want to make sure this is grandma I'm talking to.
Exactly.
Some of it's just, I want to make sure I'm not crazy.
The number one request we get is we're hoping you can find evidence one way or another.
Right. Whether
it means everything's naturally explainable, or you've got somebody here. Or there's other types of hauntings that have nothing to do with spirits. I don't want to get too technical. There's residual and all that, but
well, no, I do at some point. I want you to talk about the main types of hauntings, because being a very watcher of all these shows, I know what a residual haunt is. But for the layperson out there that's kind of now hasn't like hit the off button and went to something else, and they're like, this is kind of cool. What are the main basis of investigations, or I guess types of hauntings that are out there? There's only a handful of them, right?
Pretty much. I mean, the one that people are most interested in, the one that gets everybody's attention, is the classic idea of spirits being in the house, people who pass from their physical body. And some believe, there are darker entities
like demons.
They get involved. Demons, yeah. Some people I know in some countries don't believe that demons exist. Others believe that they do, and that you have cases where they're involved. There's other types of dark entities I believe exist, but mainly there's the classic spirit. Okay. That's what we call your typical haunting, which is another word I'm not a big fan of. But there's also a type of haunting called a residual. And that's where usually it's somebody with abilities. And just like with any other talent or gift, some people have a lot more abilities in this field. There's sensitives, there's mediums, there's empaths. I'm an empath.
I wrote all three down here.
Awesome.
Because I watched your show.
That's perfect.
I was going to ask you what the difference was, but you go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so people with strong abilities, especially not empaths, unfortunately, like me, because I'm just, no pun intended, but I'm dying to see an apparition. Never seen one. I want to. But anyway, usually sensitives and mediums. A residual haunting this is my definition, when someone with strong abilities walks into a location and it's kind of like hitting play on a spiritual audio recorder or VCR.
They're just reliving.
What happens is, we know, and I'm not a physics major or anything like that, but we pretty much know everything's energy, right? We talk about that a lot. It's pretty commonly accepted. And so even things such as emotions, in other words, when you have a home, it doesn't matter how long it's been there. Think of all the good, happy, loving, wonderful times that happen in that house.
And the bad.
And sometimes there's grievous, not just sad stuff, but sometimes unspeakable,
evil things,
traumatic, bad things that happen in the home. All of this stuff gets absorbed, in my view, and some others in the field believe this. All that energy, emotional energy, even gets absorbed into the physical surroundings, the brick, the stone, because it's all energy. Back in the early days of parapsychology, when I was a kid, this was called the stone tape theory.
I've heard of that.
Another great name for a band, but it's STP already.
Jeez.
I always thought that would be a great name for a band, stone tape theory.
It would be.
But that's why it was called that. Stone just meaning the physical surroundings of a home or building, and tape meaning it's a recording medium. Now someone with abilities walks in, and sometimes under certain situations with the right person, the right atmosphere, it's like pushing that button and they're hearing things. It's theorized that even you can see maybe apparitions that are not actual spirits, but you're seeing replays of the past. Then there's another kind that's commonly referred to as poltergeist activity.
Which just to let any ghost know that is attached to your equipment you're going to get to, they're not allowed in my house. We're going to have like some type, what do you call them, a cleansing? So when we're done, you think I'm kidding? So I know. When we're done, we need to have a cleansing to make sure and do the sage and whatever you wanted, the chants and stuff, because whatever thing came with you needs to leave with you.
Good idea. So. Yeah, I was joking with Jeff off camera. I wasn't really joking, actually.
No, you're not joking.
A spirit buddy that I'm pretty sure came with me, but she's benign. But anyway, the third one is the poltergeist activity. Poltergeist is German for noisy ghost. Okay? So one way you identify the poltergeist activity is the complaints are often regarding sounds, like door slamming, footsteps, and movement of objects, like telekinesis, things of that nature. And that really, we believe, is what's called PK energy or psychokinetic energy. It's energy. Most poltergeist hauntings are results of PK, psychokinetic energy, coming from somebody who.
And that's what pushes.
It's usually strong abilities in the person.
Now, is this theory or is there evidence on this?
Oh, there's I wouldn't say concrete evidence, but there's so many examples of hauntings where it's almost always a younger person too, like usually a tweener or a teen, who's going through stuff. They have abilities, they're holding stuff in, and since they have abilities, it's like a teapot that's boiling. You don't take that lid off, boom.
Is it true that kids apparently are more sensitive to spirits because they don't fear them? Like ghosts will tend to talk to babies in a crib or something. Again, I'm just anyone listening may think that maybe I went off my deep end, but I do watch a lot of this stuff, and I've actually been interested in this stuff for my whole life. Just I won't say as much as you, but close. And then when I started questioning things in my life, especially after Seth died, where was he? Could I communicate with him? I know Houdini, when he died, he asked people to try to communicate with him, and I don't think that's morbid. If it is, then all religious people think that they're talking to their loved ones and that they're in a better place, and so they believe in an afterlife as well. So
that's right.
So I would have to think this is a pretty common human desire. So again, part of my idea for this show was to try to get people that are watching to understand that this is not, there's a stigma with this stuff. Like, you guys are
Definitely.
wackos and stuff, but then people will pray to someone who's dead. Well, there's not a lot of difference between trying to communicate like you're doing and praying. I mean, you're convinced there's an afterlife. Okay, right? I mean, on that premise, or you wouldn't probably be doing this. I think majority of the planet believes there's an afterlife. So you're in a much bigger boat than the skeptics. And so I would, in a great, perfect scenario, literally like to have you catch a ghost. That would just be...
How cool would that be?
Well, then, you could make money on it. We could sell a book, and I'm just kidding. But the reality is that, do you think that's possible that someday we'll catch a ghost? Oh, like Ghostbusters, I think it was, where they got a ghost in the...
No, I don't think anything like that.
Is it capturable? I mean, would it be something that you could put in the confines of something?
It depends. I mean, at this point, we haven't just assuming, going on the premise that it's real, okay, that they really do exist, and there's different opinions on that. Now you're talking about defining what a spirit energy is.
Right. Is it subconscious mind?
Is it consciousness? So what now gets really, really
right.
deep. What is the essence? What is the stuff, the essence of life that's not the physical shell that appears to exit, that is able to sometimes tangibly manifest itself into visual anomalies, into audio and things like that? What is that? Is it something you can go grab?
Well, okay.
I don't think so, but...
Why would a ghost want to communicate with us? I mean, I guess I've always thought about this. It's romantic to think that my grandma, or I keep saying grandma, but grandpa or great-grandfather, anybody wants to communicate with me, but maybe the afterlife, they want nothing to do with us. It's like, I'm moving on, bigger and better things. I mean, we just assume they want to communicate with us. So to me, all these things are just very, very interesting to me. And I want to go on a ghost hunt with you. I've not done it yet. And I know where I want to go, and you've been there.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, for me, it would be Edinburgh Manor.
Yeah.
That's where I want to go. And I've done some research on it. Matter of fact, I went up there and drove around it one time with a friend. My business one of my business advisors, Ron, who's into this stuff with me. And I want to do it sometime. Just, like a bucket list thing. It's like, going to the Grand Canyon. It's like, I want to go to a haunted place, cross it off, But I want to do it right. I want to do it with like somebody who really takes this serious. And you got 3 things here we're going to cover here in a minute. And these are I don't want to say ghost hunting because you hate that word. So what would you call these things?
I would call them paranormal investigating research equipment.
Okay, go back.
Detecting equipment.
My ADD is going to get jumping on that. So back to Edinburgh Manor.
Yeah.
Where is the scariest place that you've actually done an investigation where you walked out of there going, oh my God, I am terrified? It's something that just scared you.
It's never happened.
Okay, well, that's an honest answer.
I've never
What's
been
the most haunted
scared
place
or terrified of anything.
And you don't have to name someone's residence.
No. I don't think there's an actual most active place I've ever been to, because it's hit and miss. Anytime you go into a location, there's no guarantee that particular night you're there out of 365, you're going to have experiences. Atmosphere changes, energy changes. You never know.
What place comes to mind?
But I would say, if I had to, I'd say there's probably 2. I've been to Edinburgh Manor. I've been to Malvern Manor, which was featured on Paranormal Lockdown. It's about 40 minutes from the Villisca Axe Murder House, which a lot of people know about. They've watched the shows. I've been there. I've also been to the Farrar Schoolhouse.
I heard about that
just
one.
this year.
That's in Farrar, Iowa, right?
Yeah, Farrar, Maxwell, Iowa. Same difference. That's an amazing place too. I would say probably Edinburgh Manor or Malvern Manor would be my 2 in terms of.
So you'll go to Edinburgh with me?
Sure.
Will you hold my hand and stay next to me?
Nope.
I'm not going to do a solo.
In fact, I'm going to send
I tell you that right now.
I'm sending you down in the boiler room. First thing I'm doing.
Because the Joker's down there apparently. That's that 7-foot ghost that
rumored to be real and rumored to kind of hang out there. Some say he hangs out upstairs more, but.
Well, you tell me where he is, and I'll go a different place of Edinburgh Manor. Okay, last week I was in Estes Park, Colorado.
Yeah.
And had a chance to drive through the Stanley Hotel. Oh my gosh, was that cool!
I'm jealous.
Yeah, and I, people that don't know the Stanley Hotel, that was featured in the movie The Shining, Stephen King.
That's right.
And I guess people don't really understand the context of the Stanley. So, based on your limited knowledge of that, that's not where The Shining took place, right? the Stanley.
Well, do you mean the actual filming of the movie?
Well, no, because that's where Stephen King had the vision for the movie, the idea for the book.
Yeah. I'm not positive. I don't know. Some of it may have actually been filmed at the Stanley Hotel. I'm not
Because
sure.
room 217 is where he stayed.
Well, I do know, I'm pretty sure that he wrote quite a bit of the book, of some of the drafts of the book at the hotel.
And he claims
I believe.
The Shining was like a ghost experience he had, or he got the ideas.
As far as I understand,
from an experience he had at that hotel.
And one or two scenes in the movie, I believe, were specifically related to purported actual activity in room 217 of that hotel, I should say.
So one of the neat things for me watching these ghost shows is all the new inventions that come up, and some are. I tell you, the one I really like, Scott, I think is pretty cool. And maybe you tell me if this is crazy, but it's the one with the laser dots and stuff. And then apparently, if something walks in front of it, it blocks
We have
it.
one of those. I almost bought it today.
But I'm thinking to myself, well, aren't ghosts invisible? If you have a laser going across and a ghost comes by, why would a ghost interact the light there? Or some ghost shadows?
Those are called laser grid pens. And they're not designed. Again, we're throwing the term ghost around really loosely.
Right.
There's different types.
I mean, spirit.
There's different types. Those who believe that in this field that believe this phenomenon exists and is real believe that there's a type of entity called a shadow person.
Right.
Okay. In other words, the concept is that sometimes spirit energies that are very strong are able to, it's believed, manifest as shadows instead of the typical
because
ethereal
they're
mist.
a stronger spirit.
I guess that's the theory. We don't know why. I've never seen a shadow person. I've talked to people who have. In our latest residential investigation, the girl investigating with me, strong sensitive, she swears up and down. And I've told her many times when she joined the team, be straight with me. Be straight. You know, I'm not. You're not.
Yeah, because if you lie one time in that industry, you're done.
I'm telling you, and anybody that works with me on my team,
you're done.
If you're gonna make stuff up, it's not gonna fly.
Right.
And she knows I know that, and she said she saw it once. So anyway, the laser grid pan puts out these dots of laser light, and they can shoot down 60, 70 feet down the hallway. The reason they're used is purportedly, I know Ghost Hunters on their show has used this device.
Yeah, that's where I've seen it.
Yeah, and the idea behind them is if a shadow, which is a darker, the way people who've seen shadow entities, shadow people describe them, and this is really bizarre, is that you're in a dark room, right? Mm-hmm. You're in a dark area. Mm-hmm. These entities appear darker than the dark. They're darker than the ambient darkness in the room. So if a shadow, if you have these laser dots out there, and a shadow, something with enough, however they do it, mass to manifest a shadow, moves in front of one of those laser dots, you're going to see that dot blacked out on the wall. That's the premise.
I understand. Why are we afraid of ghosts? I mean, I understand spiders.
It's a good question.
You don't have to tell me why.
Oh my God, that's my biggest...
Me too. I hate spiders, and I hate clowns. Those two things.
It's a joke on my team with spiders.
Me too. It's a spider clown. The kids send me these grotesque images on the internet of some spider and clown that's been like photoshopped, and they think it's funny, and I'm like, it's not funny. I hate spiders. I hate clowns. Why are we? I understand why we're afraid of those, but why are we afraid of the afterlife? What scares us about it?
I don't know. I think one reason that people are afraid of spirits going into potentially active locations and having that experience, I think a lot of it is what you see perpetuated on TV and in the shows and in the movies. There's this misconception, major misconception, that a spirit, if you were to interact with one, is either unintentionally or intentionally going to scare you, especially intentionally.
Harm you.
Yeah.
And how would they harm you?
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. It all boils down to if you believe, like I do, that a ghost is nothing more than someone who's passed from their physical body. I believe, and all the evidence I have found in terms of the audio I've collected, where I believe they've expressed sensations that I can't understand because they should be unique to the physical body. Mm-hmm. Things like being cold, things like expressing they remember how food tastes. Things
or going to the bathroom.
Expressing, well, believe it or not.
I mean, if they can see us with their eyes, then why can't they have a liver and all the other stuff?
And they have sometimes in audio express emotion. Yeah. Like I'm so sad.
Right.
And things like this. So, it really, it makes me wonder. But if you look at it from that perspective, I view, when I do an investigation, I always a little bit off topic, but I'm going to segue. I always err on the side of that there is activity there. There's a reason I do it. I
heard that on your live stream.
I always assume that there is a spirit there who wants to communicate and is trying to get the homeowner's attention. And the reason I do that is because if I'm wrong, so what?
Right.
If I'm wrong, I won't get any audio. I won't get
Well, if you come in just they don't exist, they don't exist, then they won't exist.
If I don't give them an opportunity.
Right.
If I blow them off.
Right.
But if I take the other step and assume, possibly wrong, but assume that they're there, now I establish that bond of trust, and they're like, okay, someone's going to take me seriously, and that's why I do it that way.
What's your thoughts on the Ouija boards?
Mixed bag. It gets an automatic thumbs down from 99.9% of people in the field and out of the field.
Well, I'll tell you what. Right now, I'm not going to play with one, and
Ouija
I don't.
Boards. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not gonna play with one. And it's funny because, like I said, I'm more of a skeptic in the scary ghost thing. I really want to believe in all that, and maybe I'll get there someday. But I'm still not gonna play with the Ouija board. There's some people who won't even go near one. I mean, I don't even know if they still sell them. Do they?
I think they do. And
do you ever use them in investigations?
This is no. Some teams do. But here's the deal. Here's my firm belief. I really am adamant about this with the Ouija boards. And it doesn't have to be the physical Ouija board produced by Parker Brothers that you go and buy. A Ouija board is really nothing. That's a brand. Mm-hmm. They're called spirit boards.
Yeah.
And some very legitimate, I believe, we have one on our team, mediums will use those to help connect with spirit, as she calls it, which is capital S, which really means all spirits, all people who pass from their body. She uses spirit boards prior to investigations to connect with her spirit guides and get tight in that way. But exactly to your question, the Ouija board, I think it can be good, it can be bad. What matters is your intentions when you're using it. Mm-hmm. The analogy I like to use for clients, because I get this question a lot about Ouija boards. My analogy is this. Let's say you've got some kids having a sleepover.
Right.
All right? Some middle school kids, and they pull out a Ouija board.
Which I did do that.
And they want to, whether it's boys or girls, I think both, maybe girls are maybe more prone to do this, and maybe they pull it out and they say they want to find out the name of their future husband. So they're just having fun with it, or their future wife if it's a guy.
It's fun till it isn't.
Yeah, right, exactly. and so then they can say something like, what boy or girl at school likes me? Who's my crush? Okay, now you're innocent. Now you're just trying to do that kind of thing. But now once you take that next step and say something too broad, like, is there anybody who wants to come now? I don't even like to say that. To finish that, no, I knew that's
We're
why I
in my
stopped.
basement. I would prefer you don't
that's why I
conjure
stopped.
anything.
That's why I stopped.
So
I don't even like to complete that phrase because once you give permissions and say, is there anybody? It's one thing to say, is there somebody here in the house who wants to talk to me? Okay, somebody's already there. But I think it can be bad if you believe in this kind of thing, that it can happen to darker entities. You never want to give that broad spectrum of permission. It can be a toy, it can be used innocently. Intention is everything, opening and closing the session properly, which is a whole other topic.
So you can't know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. So can a dog be a ghost? Can a rabbit? Can a cat? I mean, if we're thinking at the afterlife, is that just human afterlife, or do dogs have their own afterlife? But so my thoughts on this are, if and my dog, I mean, I guess it comes down to the concept of a soul and all that, and that gets pretty religious with people. But when I've been in my darkest moments on this floor after Seth died, and I was writing my book. This is where I wrote my book, by the way, in this studio, I guess, or sometimes it was a prison for me. But when I was in my lowest points, I mean, literally my lowest points were like the next option was suicide, which I never got there. Thank the Lord. My dog would come in, and he would come in and he would lay on me and lick my face. And I tell you what, you tell me they don't have a soul, boy, I don't know. I mean that my dog knew I was going through something traumatic, and he comforted me. I mean, a tree isn't going to do that. I get that. Right. Trees don't have souls. But and I'm not trying to get religious with people, but no. I'm not going to believe that my dog doesn't have a spirit, if the definition of a soul and spirit are the same thing, then I'm all in with pets. And anybody watching this that has a pet and they've been crying and they've been weeping and they're it could be a cat. Exactly.
It's
so
to me. I'll share my story.
I'll go back to my
yours.
question. So can you communicate to a pet? I mean, do you believe in the afterlife for pets? And if you do, then where do you draw the line? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay,
do.
so does a mouse have a soul?
I don't know.
I mean, it's weird because at some point you could say, well, pets are more like us because they're in our house. So it doesn't mean they have a soul just because they're our pets. I mean, you could have a pet mouse. Right. So does a mouse have a soul? I don't know. This stuff to me is just, I don't know the answer. I'm not preaching to anybody. I would be doing a disservice to investigations if I came in with an agenda. I don't have one. I'm not that smart to know these things, but it really interests me. And that's why I wanted you on the show. We could kind of dive into this, but go ahead and finish what you're saying. Then I do want to get to the, we got about 20 minutes left. I do want to get into the investigation. Too. Oh yeah, we got some pictures too.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah. I absolutely believe that animals have souls. I absolutely believe that there are spirit animal encounters with homeowners. My story real quick, one of my absolute lowest moments, everything's relative. Right. I can't say whether it compares. Right. But same deal, curled up in a ball on the couch all by myself, and I was just sobbing and sobbing. And we're talking this went on, for hours, for days. And I remember multiple times being there on the couch doing this with my door locked all by myself. And one of my cats would come up and I'd be laying on the couch. He would just come up and he would sit right on my chest. Just sit there. Only when I was doing that. And just sit there and I could feel his tail and he's just looking at me.
I know.
No doubt in my mind he could tell I was hurting.
So any pet lover is going to agree with that. Yep. Okay, we got 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Let's go to ghost pictures first.
Let's do that.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our thing in front of us, and then you guys will be seeing the pictures. But what I wanted to do is have you bring in some of the most famous ghost pictures.
Okay.
I've seen all these, by the way. And then have you comment on, like fake or real, or whatever you think. Right. So what's the first one here?
I have little notes here.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just going to glance down at
it. And I recognize this one too.
I know the premise of this picture very well, but I want to just give a little backstory.
Yeah.
This is arguably the most famous purported apparition photo ever taken. I don't want to say these are because I don't know. I'm very skeptical of all video and pictures. But this is called the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. And this was shot in 1936. The picture was taken. It's purported to be the spirit of Lady Dorothy Townsend. She and her husband were residents of Raynham Hall in the early 1700s. And the person who was taking this picture was hired to come do a shoot there for, I think it was, I want to say Vanity Fair magazine. It doesn't matter. But anyway, Country Life magazine, a December 1936 issue. So he's under the lens hood. They had these big lens hoods there at the time. They'd have to get under.
Right.
And the lady who was his assistant, who was running the flash, she saw this coming down the stairs.
Oh wow! So she actually took it with the intent of photographing.
Said, "There's somebody coming down the stairs, And he said, "Well, just shoot it, shoot it." And so she did the flash, and when she saw something coming down the stairs, and this is the image they got. Real quickly, I want to show you.
Well, hold on, fake or real?
Well,
what do you think? And you can't say I don't know. You got to pick one. It's my show.
I can't.
You can't. No, you can't be in the middle. You can't be.
I can't say if this is fake or real. Let me put it this way:
if
there was a spirit photograph,
right,
out of all of them that I think has the highest chance to be real, this is it.
I think it's a bird, but go to the next one.
But anyway,
no, I'm kidding. That's what everyone said.
The second one I just put up is the same picture in a little bit greater detail.
Okay.
A little bit enhanced to show the detail in the outline.
So what's the next one?
So that one, let's do this.
Oh, I remember that one. So what's the context of this one?
This one is from the SS Watertown.
Yep.
And this picture was taken in 1924. What happened? There were two airmen, or not airmen, but they were seamen who were overcome by fumes or something. There was some freak accident on the ship, and they lost their lives. Well, they were buried at sea. And what happened was, I think just a few days later, it was the next day actually, the first mate reported seeing these two faces in the water. And of course, the rest of the people were skeptical. They remain in the water for 10 seconds or so at a time and then fade. But this happened for several days. and multiple people on the ship saw these. Well, this has been said for years and years to be one of the most legit apparition pictures ever taken. But there's an update I just got recently, and it's important to point these things out. There's been some recent evidence to show that this may have been faked.
Yeah.
And this looks really, really legit.
Does look real, yep.
Remember, back in 1926, they didn't have Photoshop.
Right.
They didn't have Lightroom. They didn't have all this stuff.
Yep.
So it's possible that this is.
Do you know what the concept of, or the idea of patternicity is?
You're talking about like pareidolia and things like that.
Well, it's like when people see Jesus on a wall.
I call it pareidolia.
Yeah, and you know, it's you know, if you like for me, I for some reason see you know, faces and skulls a lot. Like when I'm looking at a pattern or something, I'll see 3 or 4 skulls and stuff. Mm-hmm. By the chance, I have 2 skull rings, but
exactly.
So for me, it's like, you know, I see something and I immediately see that, and so patternicity is that concept, is that your brain is predisposed to create things.
It's the same thing we call pareidolia in the field. There's audio and visual pareidolia, and it's basically your brain has to make sense out of chaos.
What's number 3? Sorry, I want to make sure we get some of these in. I remember that one.
Yeah, let's do this one real quick.
I remember this one.
This is from the Tulip Staircase.
This one was scary.
This was actually This was taken in 1966.
That's my birthday. Oh no!
And when I look at it, I look at this picture, and I was fascinated as a kid. This is the first picture I saw as a kid that really got me going. To me, you can see
the hands. Like there's a hand. Yeah, like it's leaning on the
figure reaching up the staircase.
Yep.
I look at this. My gut says this is just too good to be true. This is just too detailed. It's too classic. Too willowy.
It's like those seance pictures you see with the violin floating in the air. It's like too good.
But this is a purported, apparition photograph. My gut just has a little bit of a problem with it.
A couple more, then we'll hit the equipment.
Let's
do the baby one. That was. I mean, you showed me that one, and that's really good.
Let me real quick show you this one, and then we'll go to that one. Okay, real quick. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one I took it. Let's do here and make executive decision.
We have too many.
I know. Let's do this one. This is one that I took.
Oh wow!
And this was taken at Pleasant Ridge Cemetery in Palo, which is known as the 13 Steps for locals here.
Oh wow!
I was there. I had a camera with me, still camera it's called what we call a full spectrum modified camera. It's been professionally modified to see into the infrared and ultraviolet spectrums that the human eye can't see.
Wow.
I took it with me on a hunch. I took about 50 pictures. This one in particular just got my attention. If you can see, in the middle, there's a pinkish, like a figure. It looks kind of like a portly, kind of a wide, like form of a female, maybe an older woman or something. You can almost see the waist, where maybe there's maybe tighten waist, almost like a corset. You can see almost like a skirt and a dress kind of coming down.
And you didn't see this when you took the picture. You just took a random picture.
All of that pink that you're seeing is the ultraviolet spectrum that the camera was picking up. And it looks like a physical human form. Someone on my show who was on live watching this, who's from that area and whose grandmother is buried in this cemetery, said he thought, it's a reach, he said he thought it looked like her. So I don't know. I can't explain the picture. Okay. I don't know what it is. Here's the last one.
Yeah, then we'll go on.
This is a good example of...
I thought this was crazy when you showed this to me earlier.
This is a great example of how it's easy to be fooled.
I mean, that's a baby with a ghost in bed with him in the crib.
This was from a toddler cam, night vision camera that a mother had set up, as a lot of families do. And she looked down in the middle of the night and she saw this, which really certainly looks like a baby.
I'd be running in that room pretty quick.
Laying next to her actual toddler, and it just looks obvious.
Right.
So she was freaking out. Well, the husband got home and took a look and realized that what had happened was this mattress they had just bought had an emblem, an insignia that was, like a tape.
Yeah.
Cut out and taped onto the mattress.
And they just put a light sheet over it, probably.
Normally, it's covered with a mattress protector. Yeah. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here.
And this is crazy. So that's the baby's face right there.
Saw. And see this protector that's pulled away? That normally is over it.
What gets me
is when they laid the baby down that night,
what gets me, Scott, is that first picture you showed. People were saying, "Well, this is evidence."
They would swear up and down. They'd say,
"This is why." The Bigfoot thing, really, obviously, with my shirt. And I look at a lot of Bigfoot videos, and I just the same thing. I'm like, it's not that. But again, if 99 are like this, all it takes is one picture, and that kind of validates what you're looking for.
It goes to show you that no matter what you think you're seeing, you absolutely can be fooled. And this is why audio is a whole nother animal.
Yeah, it is.
Video for me, I'm highly skeptical. I have clients that they'll be watching people watching our night vision monitors on investigations. They'll say, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe all this stuff we're seeing." And I'll come down and I'll be able to shoot down and debunk everything that they're seeing on video.
Well, we could go through so many of these, but I want to spend some time. You brought 3 ghost hunting. Sorry, you hate that phrase. Spirit searching. Afterlife searching type equipment. Why don't you just give a brief explanation, then actually turn them on and kind of show us how they work?
Yeah,
if you can.
Basically, what these are.
And if that thing goes off and it shows that there's a ghost here, we're ending the show, and you're going to do a seance.
It wouldn't mean it necessarily is paranormal. All these things will do. We have a variety of these things. We've got case after case of stuff like this, but these are just some of the most well-known and most commonly used ones. This one here, this is called a REM pod. This really made its debut on the Ghost Adventures show back in 2008, 2009. It was used a lot. Lots of episodes they've got with this thing going off all the time. And what it does, when you turn it on, which I'm going to do here, it puts out an electromagnetic field around this antenna. And this particular model of it, I'm going to turn it on here. Okay, it's going to beep. Okay, now it's got an electrical field around this antenna. And if anything that has conductivity to it, like a human hand, like we believe spirit energy, gets a certain distance.
Oh, wow.
See?
That's the sound I hear in all the ghost shows.
And the closer you get, okay, this one, you can actually adjust the range of it to be ultra sensitive.
And the theory is that spirits emit an energy field.
Right, that they emit conductivity.
Like we do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And see, you can adjust it to get even.
Is this the theory behind the batteries draining on investigations?
It's a big part of it, yes.
Because I see that a lot where they'll say, "Well, geez, I just put batteries in this camera." Is it the belief that spirits can use the energy in the battery to give themselves more energy?
That's exactly it.
And that's just obviously the theory.
We believe, I adamantly believe, and I have an incredible audio capture I'd like to play for you someday, that to me is groundbreaking because it verifies what I've known. It's a spirit saying, almost sounding like he just had his oxygen machine unplugged, gasping and saying, "I'm almost out of energy." It's incredible.
You have it on tape?
I have an audio of it.
No, I don't want to hear it right now.
At a residential investigation. I didn't bring it with me. But
I do want to eventually
But anyway,
hear it,
yes. We don't know what types of energy they need all the time. We do believe they use electromagnetic energy at times. Sometimes it's static. Sometimes we believe if they want to manifest, they understand that these batteries, they can drain. I had battery drain twice in our latest residential, brand new charged batteries that went to nothing within 45 seconds after turning on the device.
Yeah,
Can't explain that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So anyway, this device here, I'm going to turn it on for you. This one is called a millimeter. And if you are a fan of the shows at all, I'm just going to set this up.
Yeah, show it up.
If you're a fan of the shows at all, you may have seen this. I'll hold it up here. And this really is a detector of the same type of field that goes around this antenna. It's called an electromagnetic field detector or EM detector. And this one also has a temperature probe on it too that'll give the baseline temperature.
And what happens if a ghost communicates with that thing? What happens?
Well, what you would expect to see is now you'll see the 0.0 on here. Off the camera can see that, but that's a measure of the EM strength in milligauss. And it's believed that sometimes spirit energies emit electromagnetic energy. So if one were to come close enough to this device, you might see that number spike up. In the field, researchers say if it's between like 2 and 7 milligauss, it's more likely paranormal than other readings, but that's for debate. But that's one thing you might expect to see. And that's why we use this device in the initial homeowner interview to do a baseline sweep of the home.
I've heard that
to find out what's normal in the area. So then if you go back on investigation night and there's spikes.
See, just what gets me about this whole thing, and I'll be honest with you, is the stigma with spooky, boo, and you're researching. I mean, and that's the difference between a lot of people that look at this right now, watching this podcast, going, well, just this. I don't believe in ghosts and all that, and it's like, well, I don't know if you have to not believe or believe in ghosts. It's are you willing to, back in the day when we thought the Earth was flat, although there's some that still think that, that was debunked, and we, now there's pretty good evidence that the Earth isn't flat.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe someday, we're going to fly humans to other planets eventually. Well, we didn't think we'd get to the moon,
That's right.
Is there some day that we're going to look back at this when we're actually interacting with spirits, if that happens, and we're going to say, gosh, I don't know why we were so just naive and so ignorant that this possibility could exist. And that in itself is what interests me, is the possibility that someday you'd be able to communicate. I mean, we got people that are taking their bodies and storing them in ice, believing they're going to be, resurrected somehow. And no one laughs at them because they're billionaires,
Yeah.
And the reality is that I tell you right now that the government is researching things that, we don't know about. I mean, I talked about the remote viewing and all that. Right. That's still going on. I mean, the parapsychology industry has a lot of applications to military and things like that. So I appreciate the fact that you're very open-minded with this, and I hope people watching this, if they've ever been interested to either have things, validated in their own house, or, not communicate with the dead, but to maybe find a way that you can get a sign from the afterlife to get some closure, maybe to help you deal with, hey, I'm okay now that my loved one that died is in a place where they're okay. They're not in pain anymore. Right. What's the last one you have?
Well, I've got 2.
Oh yeah. So I guess we got to see this, which you showed me this earlier.
This is one of our favorite pieces of equipment, and he's not just a teddy bear. This is called the Boo Buddy bear, and the idea behind him is, I'm not going to turn him on because he'll have to calibrate and do all this stuff.
Well, I don't want you to turn him on anyway. So.
Yeah. So anyway, what he does, he's got fairly sophisticated electronics in him. He has an electromagnetic field detector, just very much like this, without the audible signal. If he detects EM changes around him, like if a child spirit were to come up and grab his hands, you'd see his paws light up.
So I thought you were kidding me. His name is really Boo. He's really a
Boo Buddy is what he's called, but the manufacturer calls him Boo Buddy. Yeah, we call him Hal. No, I just made that up. No, it's just Boo Buddy is what they call him.
You ever thought about talking to somebody, like a therapist or something? Or?
I thought I was.
Oh.
No,
you're talking to many people. We just can't see them.
That's exactly right. So anyway, he's got that.
Boo Buddy attracts kids?
Well, yeah, that's. But I always emphasize.
Can I hold him while I get possessed or something?
No, not there. No, I'm just kidding. No, you should be fine. Should be fine. Yeah.
This is Boo Buddy.
Pretty cute, yeah.
And so he's also sensors in here?
He's also got a sensor in him that detects motion, like vibration.
If you had a button and made him talk right now, I'd punch you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Here, you can take Boo Buddy back.
One thing I love about it, you turn him on and he calibrates, he baselines to the environment, okay? EM, everything. And then he'll start talking. He'll say, "Hi, I'm Boo Buddy. What's your name?" Then he waits 30 seconds. He says all these different things.
Does he record too?
No. Oh. But I'm getting to that real quick. He'll do things like have kids start to sing their ABCs or count. We always put a digital voice recorder by this bear right next to him.
And you catch stuff.
Yeah, I'll put one like this right next to him. Okay, and the reason we do that, obviously, for example, the best recorded audio we've ever had of a child spirit interacting with this bear was at a residential case in Mount Vernon. One thing the buddy does is he says, "Count with me," and then he says 1, 2, 3, 4, and he stops. We recorded the voice, plain as day, of a little kid saying 5 on the recorder after this bear stopped at 4.
You know how heightened right now?
It's just
incredible. I mean, if somebody scared me right now, I would have a heart attack. I am so. Every hair standing up on my arm.
It's wild.
Just being around this stuff is not creepy. It's just like, it's intriguing to me. I'm not like.
To me, it's
hard to explain. It's hard to explain. I'm absolutely excited to go on an investigation, an overnight investigation with a professional, with you and your team, just to not add any value, but just to kind of take in the information.
If nothing else, just to immerse yourself in the ambience of a location like that.
Do you allow non-team members to go on investigations with you?
Well, if it's a team event, like a team bonding event, typically no, but.
Like a brother?
Oh, absolutely. We could have a case where it's just you and me, or you and me and somebody else.
And we don't have to go to the most haunted house. We can just go to,
Edinburgh's a great shot. It's just right down the road. It's a really active location. At times, it's always hit and miss. I've done 2 solo overnights at Edinburgh Manor. Nobody but me. One of them was really, really amazing. The other one was bland. It was just eerily quiet. almost like there just was no energy going on. So you don't know. It's hit and miss.
I know we got a little bit of time left.
I had a door shut in my face and footsteps coming up the stairs toward me.
To be honest with you, I could do this for another hour or two. I love this topic. I do want to, as we end the show, spend a few minutes talking about the experience you and I had in high school.
Yeah.
And it's I've had three or four legitimate ghost experiences. One involved a dog and some other things. But this one you and I witnessed. We were together. I'll kind of start the story. You can kind of take it. And I know when you and I have repeated it, we went like 20 years and didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then when we repeated it, our stories were slightly altered. But that's normal. 20 years and things kind of change. But the idea was that we were coming home. I'll keep the other people out of it. You and I were in a car with some other people. 1, 2, 3 other people. We're coming back from a movie. This was in high school. And I know the exact road because when I drive by it with the kids, I always say, this is where we saw the figure or whatever we saw.
I always think about it.
And we're driving, and all I remember was there was some fog. And as the fog kind of cleared, she was driving, I was in the passenger side, and you were in the back with the other 2 people.
Yep, exactly.
And what I remember is we came, and there was a figure standing in the middle of the road, okay? Mm-hmm. And the person driving didn't think anything. We didn't really think anything of it. We pulled up to it probably, 20, 30 feet away. It's dark now. There's a little bit of fog out there. And whatever it was, all I remember was the whiteness to it. I didn't see color. I didn't see a red shirt or shaggy hair or baggy pants or a backpack.
That's my
it was
recollection
just
too.
It wasn't a naked figure because I didn't really see any clothes defined or even from that perspective, I knew it was a male, and it was just kind of white. It wasn't like a shimmering white you see like when people go to heaven or whatever. It wasn't that. It was just it wasn't a tree. It wasn't a flock of geese. It wasn't a deer. It was a human being. At least I thought it was.
Right.
And we pulled up to it, and then the driver went around the side, and this whatever it was, just kind of like an army soldier walking. What I remember, and it kind of pivoted. And then walk towards I'm sitting in the passenger seat, so let's say you're the driver.
Right.
It walks right here, and now the girls in the back are screaming. Drive, mom, get out of here. Yeah. I never was scared. I thought it was someone on drugs or someone.
I was just concerned.
A drunk driver or something. I didn't know. Someone wandering around.
Right.
And then when it just kind of reached out, very stoic-like, to grab the handle, and then the mom. And everyone's screaming now, and I was going to open the door.
You started to unlock the door.
Freaking idiot. And whatever, we drive up, and then we turned around, and then I'll let you take it from there and kind of finish how it ended. But what do you remember about the fact when we pulled ahead, and then we left it behind us, and then what happened?
My recollection is, she did start to pull away and drove a little bit down the road.
And we're all screaming frantically.
I don't remember why, but she stopped.
Right.
And we went back.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. And my dad went back too.
Why in the world we stopped and she backed the car up? I guess it was because we were concerned if it was somebody who... I was thinking maybe they'd been in an accident. They had some sort of mental trauma and they were trying to ask for help.
Right.
We didn't want to drive away from someone who desperately needed help. We didn't want to just let them in the car.
What I remember, Scott, when she backed up and we turned around, that thing was expressionless.
Blank.
There was no help and cry. It was just like
the movement.
It was literally
slow,
it was.
It couldn't have cared less.
Exactly.
If it got into the
car.
It
wasn't seeing us. Nope. We'll have these things that reached out to the car handle. I get chills talking about this. And
ridiculous.
I don't know what it was. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say we didn't see something because there was 5 of us in the car. And then it started walking towards us, and I don't remember its legs moving or its feet. It just kind of floated towards us, and then she just bolted. And we ran home, ran in the house, yelling at my dad. And then my dad gets the neighbor and my brother Steve, and I think they even got a weapon or something. And they drove down to see my dad, being a doctor, was concerned that someone was injured and was on drugs or something. Right. And my dad got down there and they couldn't find anything. But that's the pinnacle to me of my ghost experiences. And the one I had with my dog with Chip. That's another one for me that's been up there too. And I think most people watching this have had some type of a ghost experience. But that one right there to me, I mean, that's the Patterson-Gimlin film for me. I mean, that's just...
Well, and sometimes a good segue, because sometime on my live stream, I'd like to have you as a guest on and maybe talk about what we just talked about, and also share your other story with the dog.
I mean, it wasn't a dream. We saw it, and I got, again, it's my podcast. I can go as long as I want. No, if you don't mind, I do want to tell a story about our dog, because that one is amazing too.
Absolutely.
But my dad field trialed dogs, and this is where I go back on the spirit thing with animals, because I did see this.
This is really quick, if I can just say to the people watching.
Yeah.
This coming from Jeff, he's open-minded, skeptic, but he's very skeptical of spirit activity and stuff, which is cool. So when you hear him tell his story, this means something to me. This is compelling coming from him.
Well, and I still am. But
you had some pretty pointed stuff.
Yeah, this was pretty crazy. So anyway, my dad, we picked up this dog named Chip at the airport, because my dad used to train them competitively. Mm-hmm. Our dad. I say my dad. He's your dad too, Scott. And we brought him home. I had Chip in my lap all the way home. And then after a few years, Chip developed hip dysplasia, which means she basically couldn't field trial anymore. That's so my dad didn't want to do anything drastic with Chip, but he wanted a dog that could field trial. So we gave the dog to our best friends, and it happened to be the Renners. Mm-hmm. And Brock owns Premier Investments with me. We're best friends. And coincidentally, we always stayed over there. So you and I and Dan, we'd stay at the Renners, and their kids would stay at my mom and dad's house. Right. Well, in college, then they had Chip for a long time, and Chip died. And we were all sad, but they owned Chip longer than we did. Yeah. So one night, I'm over there at the Renners, and I'm on their couch in their living room, and everyone else, Dan and Brock, are upstairs. And I'm on the couch, and I could see the door had the two glass kind of frosty windows, but you could see sunlight coming through and stuff.
Ambient light coming
so I'm laying down, and I'm at that stage on the couch where I'm kind of head bobbing, when you wake up, and I'm on a couch in a living room. It's a little creepy, and all of a sudden I hear this kind of clicking noise, like fingernails, like clicking. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm just coming out of my sleep, no big deal. So I'm wide awake. Now I'm a little scared. And then I hear something coming up the stairs, and in the living room, and then they had the stairs going down to the basement, and the basement was always kind of creepy. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm in by myself now, because Brock and Dan are in the bunk beds, and I hear something coming up the stairs. So I'm thinking one of the guys snuck out through the garage, around the back door. Haha, we're going to scare Jeff and stuff. So I'm not really scared. Right. But I definitively remember I heard something come up the stairs.
Yeah.
And I hear this odd clicking noise.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Well, then I look over at the window with the frosted glass on the door, and I see something on all fours, like Brock or Dan, going across, and I see it break the light. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to get these
guys. Like we talked about, shadow.
I'm going to throw, they had a cigarette thing, a glass thing. I'm going to throw right at them, because I'm pissed now.
Because you just know it's one of them.
I see something as clear as day. And it goes over and disappears from there, and then goes over where their TV is and just disappears. And I'm going, okay. And I jump up, run up, flip the light on, nothing there. Mm. I know, I'm getting chills, and I go, oh my God. So I run up the stairs to the bunk beds, open up, and the Brock and Dan are sound asleep.
Yeah.
And I go off on them, yelling at them, you guys did something. No, we didn't. So as it found out, to kind of wrap up the show, we're not here for an hour, and I got 3 more ghost stories I could tell too. As it turned out, I did not know this, Scott. And because I didn't have, Renners had Chip. Apparently she had arthritis really bad. And when Chip walked, you could literally hear the dog clicking. Its arthritis was really bad, and it would be downstairs. And
you didn't know that?
No, I knew none of this, because we hadn't seen Chip for a year or so.
Wow.
And when I did, she was always outside. I never was any time around it. But when Chip died, she developed arthritis, and she'd always come up those stairs, and you could hear her coming up the stairs. I didn't know that. The other thing that freaks me out, Scott, is she died right by the TV. I mean, and that's where I saw the dog disappear. Now, again, I got every hair on my arm is standing up. This is as honest a ghost, and I had no fear until after I turned the lights on.
Right.
And then it dawned on me, I saw something I can't explain. So when people tell me that dogs don't have a soul because of whatever religion they have, I'll give you that. That's fine. But I tell you what I saw. Just like you believe what you believe, I know what I saw. And those 2 stories alone with me, personally, if I had a gun to my head, I almost have to say I'm not really sure there's an afterlife, but living through those 2 events, that's why I wanted you to be on the show. I wanted to have this conversation with you, and people could watch this and maybe get someone to reach out to you and get some closure, get some answers. If you would have been around, I would have had you come out to the Renners and investigate that.
That would have been wild. But like I prefaced what you were going to say.
Now I'm all scared.
That's why I wanted to preface. I know you're skeptical about this stuff, but to hear you tell that story, as genuinely as you did.
It's hard to be a
and with
skeptic
the detail,
when you witness something.
And to say the very, very compelling facts, to give those facts,
right.
things you did not know, and to have those things happen back to back.
Right.
Does it prove anything?
No, it doesn't.
No. All my audio of the kid saying 5 on this recorder, we can't scientifically prove that you saw the dog. I can't prove, but it's extremely compelling. You literally just, like you said, the hair stands up on your arm.
Yeah.
And you realize that if nothing else, these possibilities are more than worth looking into more.
They are, and I think, to wrap this up again, when you and I talked, we didn't want to have a script. We didn't want to have an agenda. Yeah. I told you my goal here wasn't to try to put you in a corner to prove to the watchers that ghosts exist, because I don't think that's possible.
Yeah,
I don't think you can prove they don't exist. I've told everybody, when someone says that Bigfoot exists, the obligation's on them to prove it. You can't prove something doesn't exist. Yeah. And so I can't go out and say ghosts don't exist just because I don't want to believe they don't exist. I can't prove that. The onus is on your industry and try to find, and that's what drives you, is I know it's our responsibility. You don't feel obligated to the public to prove ghosts. I think you're doing it for your own reasons.
Yeah.
But if you could definitively prove that there is an afterlife, think of the transformation that our society would take. Think of how much we would stop fearing death. We would look at death as not this torturous, painful process where we just rot away and everything ends. I mean, that's one of the reasons why religion is there, to give people some hope that there's something after death, heaven or hell if you're you deserve to go to hell, apparently. The reality is that whole concept of religion is there to give an answer to the question of death. Because without death, I'm not sure you'd have religion. I mean, if we never died, if we lived forever, if we were infinite beings as humans, what purpose would there to be worried about what happens when we die or go to heaven or hell? I mean, it would kind of deflate the purpose of having a religion. You still could be a good human being, but it would just take away that fear of death. And I think what you're doing, Scott, is giving people some ability to look at death differently. I am very intrigued with what you're doing. I think you're kind of at the cusp of a really neat industry. I wish the TV shows would get a little bit better. To me, I'm just bored of them now. I'd rather sit here, talk to you about this stuff, because that stuff's so dramatic. Even the music they play. Can't you have a ghost show with no music? Why do you have to have scary clown music when you're hunting for ghosts? That's just preconditioning the watcher to get scared. And right. Anyway, what are some last... If someone wanted to reach out to Scott Johnston, CR Paranormal, why would they want to reach out to you, and how do they reach out to you?
Well, you'd want to reach out to us, and this is the first thing we say on our FAQ page we have on the website. If you are just having experiences in your home or business that you think may be paranormal and you're not sure what they are, and you would just like to have somebody come in and try to find out to the best of their expertise whether you have everything explainable naturally or not, that would be the reason you'd want to get a hold of us, just to try to get you some answers. So one way or another, hopefully.
On your website, they can request contact?
Yeah, if they go to crparanormal.com. And on there, it lists, we got an FAQ page. It tells everything that we do. It's got our 888 help number on there, and it's got our email address. It also has links to our Facebook page.
Which people can watch your live stream on Monday nights.
Yep, that's correct. Yep. The website has links to the Facebook page and the YouTube channel too. But the live stream that I do is every Monday night. It's at 8 o'clock Central Time. It's called The Paranormal World with Scott Johnston. And it's on the Sky Door Network on Facebook. And I post links to that. If people go to the website, they click the Facebook link that goes to the Facebook page.
Right.
They don't even have to like the page. I've never asked anybody to like our page. Thankfully, 700 some of them have. Just follow it. If you follow the page, then every time I post the live link to the live stream, you'll get that push on the team's Facebook page.
I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for that damn bear to move, and then I'm out of here. So I'm just keep watching him.
Jeffrey!
So that's Boo Buddy. Nice to meet you, Boo Buddy. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate it.
That wasn't me, Jeff.
I hope this was interesting for people, and part of the Living Undeterred methodology or mindset to me is just keep learning. Just keep exposing yourself to distractions from the stress of life, to alcoholism, addiction, gambling, all this anxiety and stress and COVID and
it's a big part of what
and
this is about.
The political environment we have,
right.
and all this stuff is
Doing
just
something you love.
it's toxic.
Doing
Yeah.
something you
And
love.
so
Yep.
maybe for those people looking for something different, you may be bored of reading books or watching
Yeah.
Netflix, maybe reach out to you and learn. They don't have to go on a ghost hunt.
No.
But learn more about this stuff,
Right.
and form your own conclusions. You're not
That's
pushing
the point.
You
Thank
never
you.
push a
Yes.
narrative, and I like that.
That's the thing, real quick. I know you're trying to finish up.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
That's the big thing. If people are a little skeptical, that's fine. I would recommend about any of the equipment. People say this equipment doesn't work, this thing doesn't work, this is bogus. I've never listened to what anybody tells me about whether something works or whether something's real. I want to try it myself. Try it yourself. Try it hands-on. Do your own experiments. Come to your own conclusion.
Well,
don't listen to me tell you this stuff's real. Go try to find out.
I speak on behalf of Roman and I who live here. When you leave, take all your friends with you, and that includes Boo Buddy. But listen, man, thanks a lot.
All right, yeah, it's been
and for
great.
everybody watching, I very much appreciate your attention tonight. And as I always say, live undeterred. Thank you.